Well, I am so excited today, everybody, because we have Mike Factor with us from Diamond Medical Equipment, but he has got a great new venture and a new title. So, Mike, can you tell us a little bit, about how you got started into healthcare, a little bit about Diamond Medical Equipment, and the new title that you are now donning?
Yeah, and of course, thank you so much for inviting me to come on to this podcast. I'm grateful and thankful that I can be here and share the information that I've come across the past couple of years. I've been in healthcare for 27, 28 years. My initial professional license, I was a nursing home administrator, and I did that for several years. And then I got into medical equipment and supplies. And I just love the healthcare industry, and I'm really diving into a lot of clinical science. When I was a nursing home administrator, our clientele was the geriatrics. The majority of diagnosis I would see would be Alzheimer's. So I have a long history of Alzheimer's dementia. Now, I own a medical equipment company that's contract with Medicare called Diamond Medical Equipment. I'm also a major shareholder in Diamond Diagnostics, which is a health clinic that specializes in the modified barium swallow study and a dysphagia consultation. And I have an online business selling medical supplies, retail online, and we do quite a bit here in the Phoenix area of people wanting to rent items like home oxygen, wheelchairs, hospital beds, scooters, and those types of things. I've been in the Phoenix area since 2003. I moved here from Louisiana. I was born in Iowa. When I was a teenager, my parents moved to Louisiana. And then when I became of age after college and some professional career, I moved to Phoenix to hang my sign somewhere. And so I found my livelihood here in the Phoenix area, and I met my wife here and kids, and I just love being where I'm at right now in my life.
Oh, that's awesome. And tell us about your new title.
I've extended my education, and the two titles that I have brought on is dementia practitioner and a certified brain health coach.
Very exciting. And what is it exactly that you do with that?
I like the idea of brain health coaching, especially with people with neurological issues like dementia, whatever type of dementia it is, or behavioral disorders, or autism, or some type of genetic issue. And it's coaching with to make the person better, to talk about the items that are out there that your medical doctor does not discuss, or may not be in your medical doctor's wheelhouse, and what you can do in your home to rehab yourself and have a healthy brain. But I like really honing in on a geriatric population, or maybe even someone who's 50 and older with early onset Alzheimer's, to whatever dementia that they have. And let me just say, dementia is the term for memory loss. And there's several types of dementia, and Alzheimer's happens to be one of the types of dementia there is. A lot of people ask me, what's the difference between Alzheimer's and dementia? And so I just wanted to clarify that.
I love that. I get asked that a lot too, and I'm so glad you clarified that. And I know that we do have a lot of, residential assisted living homeowners that watch this. We've got some nurse practitioners that are watching it, case managers, social workers, and individuals as well. So I always like to make sure that, we're all kind of understanding, how this will best benefit them. And I start thinking as you're talking, and I'm thinking, wow, this is really a benefit for, like, if I have a residential assisted living home and I've got a dementia resident, and maybe I'm having a hard time with their behaviors, I could reach out to you. Does that?
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Reach out to me. I have a dementia program. I've got a coaching program. We talk about the person's lifestyle and what can we do to supplement that's something missing, take something out that they may have too much of, or incorporate a therapy that would help with their behaviors.
And then if I am a case manager or social worker and I'm discharging and I'm doing my discharge planning, maybe I have a new family that is newly diagnosed even, or maybe they've advanced in their stage. You would be a good person to also, that they could refer the family to.
Absolutely. And I would do an in-home consultation and learn more about their history and see what we can do about their condition.
And then ultimately, of course, the family, right? So my father, he had Alzheimer's when he passed. And, you know, knowing that you have this, I would have loved to have picked your brain during my dad's diagnosis, you know, because you just kind of, and I actually joined some support groups on Facebook because of, you know, my father's diagnosis. So, you know, we're so hungry for advice or support when we have a loved one that's been diagnosed, and it's so challenging. And so I just love the idea that they can reach out to you. And if I'm correct, when I was on your website, I mean, there is a specific page designated to that, and that I can link there and I can put my information to reach out to you very easily and have you contact me if I have questions or just want to learn more, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for sharing about your dad. And I'm in the same situation. My dad has Alzheimer's. But yeah, you can reach me at diamond-medical.com. And if you click on treating Alzheimer's, there's quite a bit of information there. And there's also a contact page, and we can be in contact with each other and set up a time and chat. Absolutely.
And that brings me to, and I'm going to totally nerd out on you because I'm a respiratory therapist by trade. That's how I started my career 20 years ago. So I have to say, when I saw that you are doing hyperbaric oxygen therapy and that it's mobile, I was like, I have to know more. I have to know more.
Yeah.
Like, I'm so excited. So I would love for you to, because not everybody is familiar with HBOT, the acronym for hyperbaric. If you could give us a little bit, you know, tell us what it is, how it benefits, especially with Alzheimer's. And then I know that we have a tour coming up that you're going to show us it too. So I'm excited about that.
Yeah, I have it right here. You know, it started with my own personal love story with my dad. You know, he has Alzheimer's, and in 2019, I was looking for everything I could to help my dad. And there was an article that came across a Facebook page, and you and I are in the same Facebook group, that Dr. Paul Harch, who is in New Orleans, Louisiana, which happens to be like 3 hours from where my parents live, was published doing a case study reversing someone's Alzheimer's using hyperbaric oxygen therapy. So I just dove right into it. It was exciting to read. It was exciting to know it was in my parents' backyard, someone that seemed to be attainable. In the article, well, let me start with what's hyperbarics.
Yeah.
So hyperbarics is you put your body into a chamber. It's like in a sealed, pressured box, as you will, and it pushes air in there that creates pressure. And a lot of people will relate that pressure as to diving underwater, and they gauge it using atmospheres. And so whatever amount of pressure is in that chamber will also, there's an equation to how many feet of water you are underwater. And then they infuse the chamber with pure oxygen. And so the idea is you're using oxygen to heal your body from inside out. And hospitals have been doing this for years, decades, especially with the wound care. And someone who's diabetic and they have a wound on their foot or their leg, they will use hyperbarics to heal those wounds, and that's getting oxygen from the inside out. Now, the chambers in the hospitals, they can go to a high degree of atmospheres and 100% oxygen. And there's a lot of precautions you have to take. You can't wear anything that may be flammable. You can't take anything in there with you. And they're doing a lot of pressures and a lot of oxygen. And it's been very beneficial for a lot of people with diabetic wounds. Now, Dr. Paul Harch, who is a neurologist, He is, I don't know his age range, but he's dedicated his career to hyperbaric oxygen. And he, in the past 25 years, has been doing clinical studies as he's helping people with anoxic brain injuries, whatever condition it may be, and taking a scientific approach of monitoring the brain. He has a scan that he can put on the brain and see what pressures best go for the brain, and what percentage of oxygen is best for the brain. And so he did a case study and he reversed someone's Alzheimer's. And the before and after PET scans showed that he got 36% cell growth back into the brain, which is very exciting. The person that's in this case study was in their late 50s, was pretty low on the scale from doing your ADLs and the function status, and they do the standardized mini memory standardized test. And they found that after 40 sessions, they got 36% cell growth, and the person was back to doing their ADLs, doing crosswords. We're having good days. And if you want to see the interview of Dr. Harch with this case study, I have the video of the interview on my website at diamond-medical.com under treating Alzheimer's. So that video is there if you want to see the entire case study. It's all on my website. The idea that Dr. Harch has and with the brain is that that's the trick is dosing, the amount of atmospheres you use and the amount of oxygen you use. So if you were to go to a hospital saying you want to treat your Alzheimer's, it would be very expensive. They would have to do a lot of research to know what that dosage would be. And you could probably do it. But the ideal situation is to do it with a mild hyperbaric chamber. And these are soft shell chambers with a lower percentage of oxygen. And I have that protocol that Dr. Harch uses. And we've implemented that into our dementia program at Diamond Medical.
And I think it's important for people to understand too, as you're talking about this, Mike, that, oxygen is considered a drug, so it is something that very much has to be regulated, and they have to, we have to really we do have to watch that. You have to watch how much oxygen we deliver to patients and all that as well. So that is really important for people to understand. And another thing too, that I want people to know before they see yours is that if you go to a hospital, these chambers are very large, and oftentimes you're in there with other people, and but they're a large chamber. So what you've got here and available to us that is safe to use through your protocol in a home environment is just amazing.
It's extremely safe. The contraindications for hyperbaric oxygen, and it really stands in the hospital setting, is oxygen toxicity and ear barotrauma. You won't get this in a mild chamber because you're not taking in 100% oxygen. You're not in 100% oxygen atmosphere. You're not at the higher pressures that's going to affect your ears. You will have a little pressure. So if you go, swimming and you dive to the bottom of the pool, if you feel that pressure in your ears, it might be the same, but you can blow them out and clear them out. You can adjust to it, but very minimum chance you'll have any dangerous effects, any contraindications that you would have in a hospital. It's extremely safe.
That's wonderful. So now I know that being in respiratory, they have what they call a 50-50 club, where they have people who have, they retain their CO2. Are there contraindications to this? Are there certain individuals where they would need to say to their doctor, I want to think about doing hyperbaric in this setting, or is it safe enough because of the level of oxygen that anybody can take advantage?
Well, that's a great question. I have not heard of any contraindications for that. But in order to do this, it's best for us to have a conversation with the client's physician and discuss that and get an order from their physician before going forward. So we know it's going to be completely safe. Their physician is overseeing it or agreeing to the mild chambers.
Wonderful. So that is something that you guys will do. Then you'll work with the family, you'll meet the family, or if it's a provider, obviously they would reach out to you and already know what they want. But if I'm a family member and I'm reaching out to you, then you would work with me to coordinate with my doctor to get the order to be able to take advantage.
That's exactly how it would work. It would either, we work with your family physician, your pulmonologist, your neurologist, whichever doctor you have, whatever doctor you have your best relationship with. And if not, we have physicians that we know that love to treat patients with this.
Oh, well, that's even better. So if I'm not established with someone, then I can just, you can give me recommendation and you can help me that way.
Absolutely.
Oh, that's fantastic. So I'm just so excited, Mike, to see this. I can't wait for you to, and I really want people to understand like how this would work. So if you don't mind taking a tour with us, and then when we're finished with the tour, let's talk about how I could get this in my home. What are my other options of taking advantage of this? And we'll dive in even deeper.
Sure. I do want to mention one thing, that in the protocol, it's not a one and done thing. It's not a pill. It's not a magical pill. It's a therapy. So it takes a little over time. And in Dr. Harch's case studies, he requires a minimum of 40 sessions, 40 dives. They use the term dives because it's like being underwater. And then beyond that, there is some maintenance beyond that. So you're going to be looking at 2 to 3 months worth of therapy for this. But you'll see changes between the 3rd and 10th session. You'll start having some clarity. There is a testimony on my website. It's actually in a news article, like a TV news article, that after 3 sessions, a husband and wife were starting to have conversations again. And it's a neat little testimony. So you may want to go to that. Now,
first 40 sessions, you might think, oh, that's too much. But when you think about what you just said, someone now being able to have a conversation, that's priceless. What is 40 sessions? And when you break it down into months, I mean, most therapies generally will run 2 to 3 months anyway. So, and then if you're seeing the benefits and you like it, you can continue the therapy, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. I've seen where we've done the sessions and they do it from a rental perspective, or they pay by session, but they may also just buy the chamber themselves. It's not as much as you think. It's easier to put together than a dresser from IKEA. And you just hop in and out. And this last month, I've had 2 medical doctors buy chambers for themselves, and they use it at home for themselves.
That speaks for itself, doesn't it?
Yeah, it really does.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think their perspective is the price of wellness versus the price of illness.
100%. Now, when you talk about the sessions, and then does somebody who is certified have to run that? Or if I purchased it, would I be able to manage that in my home? Or do I need to have somebody still come in and do the service of running the pressures? How does that work?
Yeah, so we offer all of that. We can offer training for you can do it in your home. A lot of times it's a parent that has a child with autism, and they'll use a chamber for their child. And so once they get trained, they can do the therapy every day as much as they want. If it's an elderly couple in their home, then I suggest hiring the service for us to come to your home, bring the chamber to your home, and helping you in and out, monitoring those pressures, making sure you're getting the oxygen in the right way, maybe checking your vital signs. So it is multifaceted, and it really depends on your situation, and you have the option to choose what's best for you.
I also am thinking about, my mind just starts going places when I start thinking of this. And I think of my residential assisted living homes. And I think, wow, wouldn't that be cool if a home that was predominantly working with dementia and Alzheimer's diagnosis, which the majority of them do, right? Being able to say to your families, we have Hyperbaric that comes in, once or twice a month, and we can, for a fee, obviously you would add that into the cost of your rent and whatever, but I just think that would just be so valuable. I would 100% choose a home that was using this type of therapy. And then it's mobile. So you bring it out to them.
Mm-hmm.
You can run it during the time that they've rented it for, right? And then
Right.
now each individual, you would just work with those individual families to make sure you have the consent from the provider. But I
Right.
just see that as something that would be real added value.
It's great added value in that group home, assisted living, independent living atmosphere. It's definitely doable, and we have programs for that. It's also fantastic for that person at home. You know, you're thinking, I don't want my spouse to go somewhere. I want my spouse to stay with me. That's been their lifelong wishes, that they wanted to be at home. And but they may get to a situation where they, you know, they need 24/7 care, or they need that extra help, or hiring caregivers. And this will help extend people's memories, people's livelihoods, their wellness. You know, we did it with my dad.
Yeah.
And I was talking to a family member the other day, and it's like, yeah, we were now my parents live in Louisiana, and I get a lot of reports back and forth because we did it with my dad. And they're like, yeah, Dad, you know, we're just sitting there talking, great conversation, wasn't repeating himself. He made himself a sandwich and then went to work. And so it was exciting that he is taking care of himself with his ADLs. And it's not a stress on the family member. I know my mom is in a much happier place now that my dad has had some recovery from his Alzheimer's.
Wow, that's just amazing, Mike. Absolutely amazing. And when they go in, well, you're going to show us. So I'm excited to see how this all works. But um, is it room enough for just one? Is it room enough for two? Like,
They come in different sizes. The type that I have in my home is the type that you lay down in. And I have the smallest one. Now, I'm 6'3", 200 and something pounds. And, you know, I have a son with special needs, and he and I get in there together. And so it can fit two people. We're not side by side,
yeah.
but it can fit two people. Then it goes to a larger size, and then a larger size, and then they have the kind that you can sit down in, or one that you can roll a wheelchair into. So they come in different sizes. The cost does go up as the size goes up, but absolutely, you have an option of what size you want to use for yourself.
And because you shared it with us and you touched upon your son with special needs, I know that when we spoke, you shared such a beautiful story with me about your son.
Mhm.
Are you comfortable to share that with the group?
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. And I have been doing brain health tips for about a year on TikTok, and I'll do little videos with Andrew and I on TikTok, and I also talk about Alzheimer's and things like that. Um, but my son, who's 10, has Down syndrome, and as he's gotten older, to 8, 9, 10 years old, and going to school, he's in a typical classroom, but his behaviors aren't as expected. Sometimes there's some unexpected behaviors, maybe talking a little louder, or some bursts, or some self-talking. Um, Maybe he is non-compliant or refuses to do his work. His verbal expression is not as clear as typical children. So that is apparent. And so this past year, noticing that we need to work on his communication skills, his fine motor skills, his gross motor skills, I said, okay, I'm going to stop being a dad. I'm going to take what I learned from my education, and I treated him with some natural supplements. I was thinking that maybe if he was a typical child with these behaviors, he would have a type of ADD. There's 7 types of ADD or ADHD. And that little boy tries so hard at everything he does. He works and he thinks, and he will do everything a teacher, a parent will ask. But it just doesn't come out right. So his brain is just working too hard. So I felt like we just needed to calm those things down and give him some nutrients. So we started giving some GABA, which helps the dopamine receptors. And there's some clinical studies shows that omega-3 and vitamin D and tyrosine, which is an amino acid that's a neurotransmitter, would help. So I started giving this to him in small doses, and we started doing dives in the chamber. We started about 3 to 4 months ago. I document every time we get in and out, how long we've been in there, what pressures we use, the oxygen. And last night we just completed our 30th dive. Now, being at 10 years old, from day one, he's had speech therapy, he's had physical therapy, he's had occupational therapy, and he has never been able to balance on a bicycle. And the past 3 weeks, we have it documented that he is now riding a bike. And you can see that video on my TikTok if you go to FACT_CBHC, which is fact, like my last name, Factor, and CBHC is Certified Brain Health Coach. I have some fun videos of me chasing him, actually running and videotaping him riding a bike, and he's got this huge smile on his face.
It is absolutely beautiful to watch. It really is, yeah.
And also I share things about my dad. I recently, a couple weeks ago, I flew home to Louisiana, and it was my mom's birthday. It was a great occasion, and we really wanted to make that time about my mom. I kind of slipped a few things in there because I just couldn't help myself. And I would do little tests for my dad. I'd tell him what day it was, where we going, that kind of thing in the car. And I'd say, okay, Dad, about an hour ago, I said what day it was, where we're going. And he remembered, hey, it's Sunday. We're taking you to the airport. We're going here, we're going there. And my dad hates when I pull my phone out and try to take a picture or video record it. So he kind of puts the kibosh on it, tries to say funny things, but he is remembering.
Wow.
It's great to see.
That is absolutely amazing.
We've done several dives with him over a year ago. I'd love to see him maintain it, but we just don't have a chamber there. They don't want to go to New Orleans. It's just what they do.
Yeah.
But I have him also on a lot of supplements. Some of the key supplements are alpha lipoic acid, N-acetylcysteine, phosphatidylserine, choline, magnesium, zinc, vitamin D, fish oils, selenium. So there's a whole host of supplements he takes every day. And, as we age, I just want to say, things start coming out of our bodies and things change, our hormones change, our thyroid change, our blood sugars change. And the science says our brain can be as healthy when we're 85 as we are 25. And you just have to maintain that lifestyle, moving around, getting oxygen to the brain, getting the right fats, the right diet, and supplementing, because we're not getting what we need with a standard American diet. So it's been fascinating to see a turnaround, to see memory come back. And there's a lot of testimonies that I can share of people regaining their memory.
I do have a question for you, Mike, because as you're speaking about all the supplements, my mom is in essential oils. And so she's always, encouraging me, Patty, try this, do this. I think the biggest thing for me with essential oils or like any type of supplement is it does take time to research and to, what's going to work best. So as you're mentioning all these different supplements and you've done the research, do you provide anything, or is that something that's part of your coaching where you help people and guide them with supplement use, or how does that work?
Yes, I will guide them with supplement use. I don't sell supplements. I probably should, just because it would make it easier on the client of saying, okay, instead of going online to buy it or going to the store to pick this up, I should say, I have it all ready for you. This is what you need to get. But I don't sell supplements. But to answer your question is, yes, I would guide them through that, which I think would be best for them, because we want to find out what is causing the dementia. If you read Dr. Dale Bredesen's book, The End of Alzheimer's, he lays out that there's 36 different insults to the brain. And these insults can manifest for up to 20 years prior to showing symptoms. So you want to find out what it is before it's too late if you want to take it from a preventive standpoint. But once you get Alzheimer's, it's a little bit harder to reverse, but it can be done. But finding out what those items are is going to be key. And some of them are what I mentioned, like the thyroid, diabetic, the blood sugars, the hormones, toxic metals like mercury, toxic mold, toxic bacteria. One of the biggest, the number one bacteria they find in the brain with Alzheimer's is gingivitis. And so you want to check your microbiome of your nasal, your sinuses, your mouth, and your gut. There's a big connection between gut and brain health. So that's the number one bacteria. Tick-borne illnesses like Lyme disease, all kinds of toxicities. So there are several brain injuries. Did you get into a car accident, a TBI, or post-concussion syndrome? Did you play professional sports? And then there's the genetic form, the APOE gene. I happen to have the APOE. I found that through 23andMe, and my mom does not have it. My dad has it. I got it from my dad. But the good news is you can turn off that gene with your lifestyle. If you have it, you have between a 20 to 30% chance of getting Alzheimer's. But if you change your lifestyle and do the right things, you probably won't get it because of the gene. The thing about the
proactive, that's interesting you said. I'm going to interrupt you for a second, Mike, because I'm thinking, and I remember when they first started doing that testing, and everybody was like, I wouldn't want to know. I don't want to know.
Yeah,
but
right.
What you're saying is, if we know, we can take those necessary steps proactively. Oh, that's
yes, definitely. And if you have that gene, you're more inclined to make beta amyloid protein, which is something that is sent out into your system to protect your body and your brain, but it causes inflammation and it leaves plaques. So in one thing, beta amyloid is good, but if it makes the plaques, it's bad. And do you want to know? I say absolutely. And what you should do is, if you have children, have them tested. Then you can make the decision. Should I let them play contact sports? Should I let them have a motorcycle or a quad? Because if there is more potential of a brain injury, then more likely they'll develop Alzheimer's at a later age. So getting to know, I think, is very important, not for someone like myself that's in my early 50s, but I think it's important to have my children checked, or to get your children checked to see if they have it, so you can kind of steer them in the right way to lower the risk of getting Alzheimer's.
I'm wondering too, like, even, where did you go to get your testing, Mike? Like, is this something that has to be ordered, or can people get this through their primary care? Like, how does that work?
I got mine through the company called 23andMe.
23.
And it's like a genealogy, hereditary, family tree kind of thing. You know who your relatives are, what your genes are, like where do you derive from, Europe, or it's that kind of thing. Your hereditary, say that 3 times. But yeah, so it will, in there, it will ask you if you want to know if you have the APOE or APOE3 gene.
Wow, that's great. Makes me want to not only test for myself just so I know, but makes me want to get my son tested,
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to be getting my kids tested for sure, because they're going to be teenagers in the next couple of years, and that's when contact sports and extreme sports starts happening. So that will be happening in my household. And you mentioned oils.
Yes.
I want to touch on oils before I show you the chamber.
Okay.
about 25% of people with Alzheimer's, this is a big number, or people with early onset Alzheimer's, has to do with insulin resistance. If you follow the standard American diet, and you may have insulin resistance. You may not be type 1 or type 2 diabetic, but you can have it in the brain without knowing. And our bodies use glucose for energy, and our brain uses glucose for energy. But if you start becoming forgetful, there's a strong chance that you have insulin resistance. Another form of fuel you can use, and I would suggest everybody to start using this fuel so your body has a choice of what to use, or you have the ability to transition. If you keep going on, your ability to transition is going to lower, but you can start using ketones. And there's a couple of ways of getting ketones as energy for your brain. One is following a ketogenic diet. And if you follow the ketogenic diet, then your body starts releasing ketones, and your body will use that for energy. And you're going to want to incorporate intermittent fasting with it. If you have a hard time following a ketogenic diet, you don't think it's sustainable for you, then you're going to want to start incorporating coconut oil and MCT oil into your diet. So those medium chain triglycerides will go to your intestines, metabolize into your liver, and make ketones. So you'll get ketones almost immediately, and your body can start using ketones, or your brain can start using ketones for energy. And you'll find after 2, 3, 4 weeks of following, 3 tablespoons of this a day with your meals, you'll be much clearer. If you don't incorporate that in there, then there are exogenous ketones. And they're starting to come out on the market. The chemical name is beta hydroxybutyrate, and it bypasses your liver. It's straight ketones, and you use this for energy. The difference between using the medium chain triglycerides is the MCTs will cross the blood-brain barrier and is pretty efficient for fuel. The beta hydroxybutyrate does not go across the blood-brain barrier, but it gives protective properties to the brain. So it's nice to have both of them. I don't think there's one over the other. If you're worried about your cholesterol levels, maybe do the beta hydroxybutyrate or the ketone esters and ketone salts. But for me, I like putting MCT oil and coconut oil in my coffee every morning. I put it in my kids' smoothies in the morning, and I'll put a tablespoon in my meal. You don't even know it's there. And there are foods with MCT oil in there. So, you brought up the oils, and I wanted to mention that if anybody that's listening and they're having a hard time processing, having that executive function, I think it's worth a try of the coconut oil and the MCT oils.
Absolutely. I love that. I've talked to my mom and I said, Mom, I need to have you come and join the group and have a discussion about the oils. She was just talking to me just even yesterday about how our body's ability to absorb the nutrients, how it declines as we age. And she was saying, and I can't remember which oil it was, and I'm probably totally doing this a disservice, and she's probably going to watch this and go, oh, Patty, that's not what I said. But I just found it so fascinating what she was telling me, how incorporating a certain oil is going to help me to absorb more nutrients in my body and make them be, keep them and get the benefit from them. And so it just amazes me when I hear people talk about oil. Sometimes I'm like, it just kind of goes over my head a little bit, with all of the talk and the, but it is fascinating to me. And so I love that you shared that. Thank you.
And if you want to enhance your oils, and there's other oils to think about taking and fats like avocado, extra virgin olive oil. There's another oil called black seed oil. And if you add curcumin or turmeric along with a little pepper, that pepper activates the curcumin and turmeric. It's a great anti-inflammatory. And that's one of the biggest things causing dementia is inflammation. So if you're taking those healthy oils and fats, add a little curcumin, a little pepper, and vitamin D is really good too. Those are great anti-inflammatories when you take them together.
See, and that's fabulous. I love to hear that, because with me, with my pericarditis, that's all inflammation. And then in the group, a lot of us have chronic illness with inflammation. So that, everybody write that down. That's a great tip.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
Thank you. So let's take a look. I am so ready to take a look at your HBOT. And then after we take a look at it and you kind of show us and navigate that, I do definitely want to talk about your durable medical equipment as well, because, you know, as we're aging, we do need these things. And sometimes we don't always know, well, does this need a prescription? Does this not need a prescription? Like, so maybe we can talk a little bit about that as well.
Sure, absolutely. Okay, let me grab my phone.
Okay.
Stand up and walk over there. I should show you that I have a little trampoline in my house, and I jump on it for 15 minutes a day. It's great for releasing toxins in your body. I have my little elliptical here, and then I have the chamber. Let's see if I can hold it. Okay, so it's like a big bag, as you will. Okay,
Yeah.
and I'm trying to hold it and show you. So here is a compressor, and the compressor takes room air, and it just goes through this tube and it pushes air into the chamber. And then we have an oxygen concentrator. Now, this is not your average oxygen concentrator. This is a Drive DeVilbiss 10-liter concentrator. You have to have one of these. If you use something else, it's not gonna go very well. You're gonna your concentrator is gonna fail. But this one puts out enough pressure that withstands the backflow of the chamber. So then here's your chamber. There's a little metal frame that it hangs off of, and here's an oxygen line that goes from the concentrator, and it goes into the chamber, this oxygen port. We have a pressure gauge, so we can monitor the pressure. We have a valve if you want to close it off to keep air in, or to open it up to let air out. And to get in the chamber, there's an opening across the top here, and it's a 3-zipper process. The big zipper in the middle is almost like a scuba gear zipper. And then inside of here, you just lay in there. Now, I have some pillows and I have oxygen tubing, and these are the types of masks that we use. So sorry about I was pulling the masks out. So my son uses an oxy mask like this, and he gets between 5 and 10 liters a minute. And then I use an enclosed mask. Here we go. Sorry about that. Like here. You can use a non-rebreather mask, or you can use a cannula, whichever delivery device you want. We find that these masks work out much easier. Because it's so safe, I'll take my phone in, my son will take his iPad in.
Oh, wow.
And so you just kind of put this on, and you can do, watch YouTube videos, do whatever you want on the phone, do whatever you want on the iPad. You can take bottles of water in there. You can just do whatever you want. So there is a window, so you can see in and out.
Okay.
You can talk to people that are outside or inside. And then on the back side here are release valves. Let's see if I can get you here, right here. So once those are preset. So once the pressure gets to a certain point in there, then it lets air out. So you got fresh air going in, fresh air going out. And so that will, if you have any CO2 buildup, that'll release all the CO2 out of there. So it's always fresh air inside, and you're supplementing it with the oxygen.
I see.
So,
And as people can see, I mean, it's not, you could fit that in most places. Like, you can find a spot in your home to fit that. It's not so cumbersome that you can't.
mm-hmm.
And once you're in there, it actually fills up, and it's like a balloon, right? It's like
it is.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, how long does a session last? I'm sure you probably said this to us, but I don't remember.
About an hour. All you need is about an hour in there.
Okay.
And it's benign. You just lay there and breathe and do whatever you want. Take a nap if you want. It's
Absolutely.
it's the easiest therapy. It's so easy. It's the easiest therapy in the world.
That's my kind of therapy. Now, what if it was like for me and I was like, I was a single woman and I didn't have anybody in the home? Would I be able to run that by myself? Or would I have to have somebody on the outside turning it on to assist me?
You can do it yourself.
You can. Okay.
I do with my son. I do everything. In the beginning, we had another person that would help, my spouse. She would help. And thankfully that she's in healthcare and has quite a bit of knowledge. She's a doctor of physical therapy, and she would help in and out. But once you get the hang of it, you can do it yourself.
Wow.
Yeah, if you're able-bodied, that's fantastic. But if you need some help, I would suggest having someone help you, because those zippers can get a little hard to tug on. You might be in a position that you just can't get into that's easy for you. Ideally, it's nice to have someone around, but after you get used to it and know the ins and out of it, one person can do it themselves.
Wow, that's amazing. I know we have Jerry and Hal listening in on us live today. Jerry or Hal, do you have any questions about the hyperbaric that you wanted to ask before we move on to?
Mine's more of a joking. Does that hyperbaric chamber, I heard professional athletes, does a 42-year-old young man who plays recreational sports, can that help him at all? I'm totally joking. That's for me, but that's awesome. I love that thing.
Hey, Jerry and I go way back. Hey, Jerry.
Hey,
it's great to
on.
see you. There he is. You're looking great.
Thanks.
I haven't seen you in ages, Jerry.
It's been a while.
It has. Good to see you.
Good to see you too. Thank you. Thanks for doing this. This is awesome.
Oh, I was like, I have to get Mike on here.
So to answer the question, absolutely. It's great for sports recovery. If you got a buildup of lactic acid or some type of injury, it's fantastic for wellness. So yeah, the average person, the sports fanatic, can use it.
I was totally joking, but yeah, I was more making fun of myself as my body starts to break down and I want to still compete with the 20-year-old kids on a soccer field. It's not happening anymore. So
right. If you dive into it though, you'll see a lot of professional athletes have chambers in their home, or the locker room of their facilities will have them, and their trainers will use them for recovery.
That's awesome.
Cool. Thanks. That's the whole next side of things, right? That's after you get this up and running, then you're going to go to sports recovery.
I have a client right now that was a professional wrestler, and his doctors told him he only has a couple years to live, and he'll probably pass of Alzheimer's. He's failing the memory exams. His MRIs don't look good, and he reached out to me, and I feel like this hyperbarics is going to save his life. And I want to share about someone on the other end of it that has done it. On my website, there is an interview with Joe Namath on Howard Stern. And Joe Namath shared that he had a brain scan and he was losing his memory, and he had a bunch of gray matter, white matter in parts of his brain. And he did 40 dives. Then he went back and did another 40 dives. And he did another brain scan that showed that things were clearing up. And then I believe in the interview, he is just shy of 200 dives over the past couple of years. And his brain scan shows that his brain is healthy, like back to a normal brain. And he shares that he's had concussions so bad that he was knocked out on the field. And he goes, if you think about us playing ball in the 70s, they'd say you got your bell wrong, or they'd wake you up with smelling salts, and you just keep on going. And it's a great testimony. I actually made a TikTok on this like 2 days ago of his interview with Howard Stern and how he healed his brain using hyperbarics.
That's amazing.
That's cool.
Yeah, that's phenomenal. Wow. We need to get you in contact. Have you ever reached out to the Arizona Rattlers?
I have not.
I know some contacts over there. I used to work with them. We need to get you over there and talk to their athletes about this.
Yeah, that would be fantastic, because my company sells the chambers, we rent the chambers, we provide a service for diving into it, and it's like a home health. We do it all in your home, and you don't have to go anywhere. It's private, and you have guidance from someone that has experience. But you're talking about athletes that are local. I think there was a quarterback for the Bears that lives in Scottsdale that's dealing with a memory loss. I would love to find him and introduce this to him and see if we can get him to do some dives. Have you heard of Jim McMahon? Is it Jim McMahon that was a quarterback for the Bears in the 80s? And there's a lot of stories written up that he has memory loss, or he just
really?
doesn't remember much in the past couple of years.
Oh, we need to figure out how to get a hold of Jim McMahon. Anybody out there has any connections, hit us up. But I'm definitely going to get
Yes,
you in touch
please.
with the Arizona Rattlers, because I think they would love this. We would, I worked with them when I was at BackFit, and we would go in and do chiro and help with PT, and then they had massage schools coming in and do massage therapy. This just is like something that I could just see them finding value and really benefiting their players throughout the seasons and even off season. So I'll get you the information. We'll do an intro, because that would be really cool.
That sounds perfect. I'd be happy to do that.
Yeah, that'd be really cool. And then their doctors too, the team docs, we'll get you in contact with. Yeah.
Those are the people that I love to talk to, the physicians, and we talk about the science behind it, the case studies, what needs to go into it. And I sat down with a physician friend of mine over a year ago going over this, and they're like, when it comes to Alzheimer's, there is no medicine out there that reverses. There's no medicine that stops the progression. There was a new medicine that's being trialed by the FDA, and they didn't clear it. That was about 3 months ago. But this is a way to do it. It falls along the lines of functional medicine more than your traditional medicine.
It absolutely amazing. I can't even say enough about it. Like, I want to come over and jump in it. I'm just like, it is so cool.
You got to save those noggins. Let's save everybody's noggin.
So before we let you go, Mike, I know you're a busy man. I do definitely want to make sure people also realize that in addition to the hyperbaric and the brain health coaching, we also have your medical equipment that you also supply. And I mean, all over the valley, we all know your name, but a lot of people in the home may not be familiar with you. And if you can let them know a little bit about the types of medical equipment that you provide, and maybe prescription versus, what they can purchase retail or wholesale.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, so Diamond Medical Equipment was started around 2006, and we provide items for people in their home needing medical equipment and supplies, and our company is contracted with Medicare, so we can bill their Medicare for items. Those items fall along like home oxygen. You do need a prescription for it. There are some qualifiers for insurance or Medicare to pay for it. If you don't qualify, doesn't mean you don't need it. So you can get it from a private pay standpoint. We do rent them and we do sell them. Hospital beds, wheelchairs, bathroom safety items, walkers, power scooters, power chairs, sleep apnea products like CPAPs and BiPAPs, support surfaces. We're talking about wound care earlier. So if you have some wounds on your trunk or pelvis, there's a mattress called a low air loss mattress, We provide those types of mattresses to help your wounds heal. So those are the major products that we bill Medicare for, or we rent and sell. There's other household items like grab bars, lift chairs, some other specialty items. So, and we've been doing this for 15 years, contract with Medicare. The organization is accredited and bonded, and we go through all the hoops that's needed to be a healthcare organization.
And you have a warehouse here locally where people can come down, but they can also purchase it online or just through their provider, correct?
Right. And if you want to go online and get the Medicare information or look at pictures and prices, you can go to diamond-medical.com. We also have an e-commerce site that has a different name. It's called Easy, spelled EASY, medicalstore.com, with pictures and prices, and we deliver and pick up. So there's a whole host of items on there as well.
Oh, that's fantastic. That's wonderful. This has been so much fun. I have really enjoyed our time together, and I can't wait to get to see this in person for myself.
Yeah, come on over. Let's schedule a time. Come on over, and I'll give you the run through. I'll let you jump in there, and so you can experience firsthand what it's like to do a dive. It's like benign. It's really relaxing, actually. It's just so you just lay there and meditate, look at your phone, whatever you want to do.
That's so cool. And just so all of my case manager, discharge planners, so you guys know, the forms that he's talking about for the medical equipment, we're going to actually have those on Comfort Care for All as well. And then a link to his website. So you can either go directly to his website, you can grab them from our website, but it's very accessible, and I highly recommend Diamond Medical Equipment.
Thank you so much. Great seeing you, Jerry.
Yes, thank you, Jerry and Hal, for joining us, and everybody who's going to be watching. Thank you. So
thanks for inviting us. Thanks for inviting us.
Have a great day, guys. Great weekend.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye.